Hi everybody, welcome to our video. We are going to talk about some things that you need to know if you own a
Halmahera Indonesian blue-tongued skink.
what kind is it?
Halmahera.
Halmahera Indonesian blue-tongued skink. And this is
Blueberry.
Blueberry right there. So he's kind of a baby, getting bigger. When we first purchased him about 4 months ago, he was, how big was he?
6 inches, so 5.5.
5.5 inches, and how big is he now?
9, almost 9.
Almost 9 inches. So, want to get a better picture? Look at how nice and healthy he looks. All right.
One big one.
And this is our new enclosure that we just started building tonight. Go ahead, set him back in there. Let's see here.
Wait, I got it.
Oh, look at him go. Awesome. All right, so let's close this up. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about owning a blue-tongued skink. Now, there's a couple types of blue-tongued skinks.
Halmahera Indonesian blue-tongued skink.
Okay, so there's Halmahera Indonesian blue-tongued skinks, which are actually tropical skinks. And then there's other types like Northerns, Australians, and the other. We're not experts. This is our first reptile. So I know that some of them live in tropical areas and some of them live in desert areas. We did not know this when we purchased Blueberry. So when we went to the reptile store, we were given the wrong information. We were told that he was to go in an enclosure that was basically supposed to be dry, and an enclosure that was built for somebody or for a reptile that was a desert reptile. So the main focus of this video is to let you know some of the mistakes that we made and
How not to do it.
And some of the things that we learned along the way to properly care for an Indonesian blue-tongued skink. So first, we want to show you over here. This is the new setup that we actually started setting up tonight. And this is a 4 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot enclosure. This is probably a little bit, I don't want to say too big, but this is a little bit big for one skink, but we wanted him to live a really awesome life and to have a lot of room to spread out because, Rose, how big is he going to get maybe?
About 2 feet or maybe 1. I think it's 1 foot or 1
I would say between about 18 inches to 2 feet. So even though he's only like this big, he can get this big. So what we did was we just jumped on YouTube. We watched a ton of videos, and a lot of people said to just get a 40-gallon tank. We wanted to go a little bit bigger so he could roam around and be awesome and explore. This enclosure here was purchased from a company in Ohio called Custom Reptile Habitats. And yeah, Custom Reptile Habitats. And it took a little bit long to get it because it was custom built.
Extremely.
So it took about 4 or 5 months to get. So, but we finally got it. We set it up. It was super easy to set up. I know that a lot of the videos that I watched, people were having a hard time putting them together. Custom Reptile Habitats did an awesome job. I had 0 problems putting this thing together, and it's beautiful. And this table down here is, please hold. This table was just an idea that we had. It's a table by Ferrixon, and we purchased it online. So instead of buying a cabinet underneath just to save a little bit of money, we purchased this table, and the cool thing about it is...
It can go up and it can go down.
You want to show them how it works? So it can move up and down.
Watch out that lamp.
Wait. Yeah.
It goes up and down. So if you have a little person here, if you have a little child here, You can lower it so they can look in there. If you have somebody that wants to just look in it and they're taller, you can raise it all the way up to about right here. So instead of spending an extra, I don't know, $300 or $400, this thing was like $150. We bought it online and it was awesome. Super heavy duty, super easy to put together. Rose and I put it together in about an hour and a half, and there it is. So this is a new enclosure, and follow me over here. Since it took so long to get our new enclosure, and he's a little guy, this is what he's been in. So this is just something that we had in the basement, and you can see here we have a basking rock that we bought, something nice and simple that he basks on, and the substrate, which we'll talk about in a second here, and that plastic beaker looking thing in there is what is called a fogger. So, and if you can see here on the top, this right here is a little temperature gauge that we bought that will show you the humidity levels and the temperature levels. And then I wanted to make sure that this one worked, so we bought a second one, and we put the one here and then one down there. That's for the humidity, and then that one is for the temperature. So excuse me. Oh yeah, and we have an elf
that hides in there.
That hides every night for Christmas, and he somehow got into Blueberry's wood. So, all right, a couple things that we did not know right away about his type of skink is that he has to have humidity. So this is something that the people at the reptile place that we purchased from did not let us know. So I think the main thing of everything I'm about to tell you is that if you purchase a blue-tongued skink or any reptile from a reptile store, I don't want to say don't listen to what they're saying, but don't think that they know what they're talking about, because they gave us a lot of information that was incorrect. So what we did when we purchased him was we called a reptile veterinarian, and we actually talked to somebody, a lady who owned a Halmahera blue-tongued skink at the place that we purchased the enclosure, and she also gave us a lot of good advice. And then of course I went to YouTube and I watched a lot of videos. So I basically had to learn myself how to actually care for him. We had a little bit of trouble, and we had to buy a lot of products that they told us that we did not need. So I'm going to go through everything that we bought, and then I'm going to tell you how he became such a happy reptile by doing this. First thing is you have to have a fogger. This is an absolute necessity. We did not have a fogger at first, and what we were doing was basically going into his enclosure a few times a day and trying to spray him down with this, and the humidity would not keep up. So what happened was the first time he shed, so he grew about an inch and he shed, and the skin would not come off, and he actually almost lost his tail. So the animal has to have moist skin in order for it to shed properly. And what we did was we took him out and we were giving him warm baths and kind of very gently peeling off the skin. And then after we did that, we put in the fogger, and now he just had a shed yesterday, and all the skin came off real nice and neat, and there was no discomfort. So this here we basically bought, we'll probably never use again. And we bought this fogger here, which is actually, the fogger sits inside of a little tree stump, which makes it cool. It looks kind of cool inside the enclosure. The only problem with this is that there's no setting in this. This is a really popular one. You see it at basically every pet store. It has no adjustment to how much fog comes out. So you turn it on, it goes, and when the humidity gets too high, especially for a smaller enclosure, you have to shut it on and off throughout the day. So we might still keep this one because this one might work for a larger enclosure, but it made it so humid in there that all of his substrate became damp. If you have substrate that becomes too damp, that the blue-tongued skink can develop something called scale rot, which is also bad. So you want the humidity right at around, generally speaking, of about 70 degrees. But if it becomes too damp, that's not a good thing. Plus they like to burrow, and when the substrate gets too damp, they can't actually go underneath it and hide. So we're gonna start out using this one, see if it works. But if this one does not work, we also purchased this one here by Reptile by Zoomed. So this one here actually has a dial on it, so you could dial the humidity up and down and kind of dial it in right to where you need it, to where it stays at 70, maybe 80. And if you notice that it's getting too damp in there, boom, turn it down, and you don't have to monitor it all day long. So I have not used this one yet. We'll see how it works. But yeah, so we have the foggers out of the way. Second thing is, when we purchased Blueberry, they gave us the wrong light. Supposedly the light was way too powerful for him. And when I called the veterinarian and I let the veterinarian know the type of light that we purchased, the vet said that that is definitely a light that was built more for a desert reptile and not a tropical reptile. And that if I was to use that light, there would be a very good chance that he would develop an eye disease and he could actually die. So the pet store gave us the wrong advice. So the veterinarian recommended, oh, by the way, that light they sold me was like $90. So we took it back and we purchased 2 regular halogen lights. One of them is 75 watt and the other one is 100. I did not know which one was going to be correct for the little enclosure. So I put in the 75 watt bulb and it kept it absolutely perfect. I'll get into a little bit about the temperature, the dial, the temperature regulator, or whatever you want to call it here, the dimmer. I'm sorry, the dimmer. So when we first purchased the light, it came in a regular dome without a dimmer. So what I was doing was I was going in there and I was taking the temperature and I couldn't get it right where it needed to be, which is about 100. You want it about 100 degrees. It could be a little bit less, a little bit more, but you want it about 100 degrees on the hot side and you want it around 70 degrees on the cool side. So what we did was we put the 75 watt bulb in, and then we purchased this here, which is a dimmer. So you're actually able to dim the light right where it needs to be, test the temperature. You can go to work all day long and not worry about it. If it's at 95 degrees or 100 degrees in the morning, it'll be at 100 degrees when you get home. This is awesome. This is an absolute must. The 100 watt one I have not used yet, but I'm thinking that because the new enclosure is so large, we might have to use a bigger light. But I will say that if you could point over here. So I just put this on here. This is the 75 watt light. I just put this on here about an hour ago and I turned it up with the dial all the way. And this is another item that is an absolute must. It makes your life super easy. It's a temperature regulator laser. So if you open up the door and you put it in there, okay, so it's at 85. So the light's been on for, I'll say, about an hour. It's not quite warm enough in my opinion. So, oh, there he is. Hey, Blueberry. So, you know, you could kind of, so we're looking at 83, put it in the back, 77, right where Blueberry's sitting. So 77 to 80, so that 75 watt bulb might not be powerful enough. But I wouldn't know that if I didn't have this here. So if I go over here on the cool side, it's right at 70. That's right where it needs to be. The reptile always has to have a hot side and a cool side. If he does not have a cool side to go to and cool his body, they can die. So now this is kind of debatable in the reptile community. This light here, this is a This is a UVB light. The people at the reptile store pretty much said it wasn't necessary. My veterinarian said that it's something that you should have. I went on YouTube. Some people say have it. Some people say don't have it. But I took the advice of the veterinarian and I bought one. This one's called a shade dweller. This one is more for reptiles that live in wetter climates like jungles, like Indonesia. And I just set it up for the first time today. And right there. So he can get some vitamin D, kind of acts like a sun. So I put that on one side and put the other light on the other side. Plus it kind of lights up the whole enclosure and looks cool. But that's it. So the shade dweller, 7% UVB is what I was told to make him very happy and healthy. Again, I'm learning, so what I'll basically do is I'll just monitor him every single day and make sure that he's eating and basking and walking around and being active. And if I notice that that is not right, then I might have to switch something up. So owning a reptile is kind of like trial and error, and basically that's it. So the next thing I want to go over is his food. So when we first purchased Blueberry, we were giving him dog food, which he loves. So we purchased grain-free beef, venison, and lamb formula. This is all natural dog food. They can basically eat not anything, but they can eat eggs and all kinds of fruits and vegetables. And yeah, so we've been giving him this. Actually, tonight he had this with, what did he have tonight? What did he have?
Zucchini.
Zucchini. So, and he loved it. He ate the whole thing. His favorite food is mealworms.
No, I thought it was strawberries.
And strawberries. He likes strawberries. You try to keep the fruit intake at around 5 or 10%, and then protein is, I think 50. Is it 50%? 50%, something like that. And then vegetables. Vegetables, lots of vegetables. So we just bought crickets. So we have not tried those yet. Hopefully he likes them. I will say something that was really fun was we just bought him live crickets for the first time, just 5 of them. We put him in his enclosure and he ran around and captured the crickets, and it was pretty cool to watch. So they are predators in the wild, and he ate all 5 of them very, very fast, and then he immediately crawled on his rock and he basked for about 3 hours, and he was really happy. So we'll probably get him crickets periodically so he can still think he's in the wild and chasing down bugs. As far as what he drinks, we try to give him fresh water every few days in a nice big large water bowl. So you want to make sure that the water bowl is large enough for him to actually go into it, because sometimes he'll do that to cool off. And what I do is I just fill a gallon of water, put his name on it so we don't accidentally drink it. Blueberry is water. And we put this prime, I don't even know what this, C-chem, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And what this does is it removes chlorine and chloramine from the water. And, yep, chlorine. Chloramine? Chlorine? Chlorine. Okay. So, this stuff right here goes a long way. All you need is one single drop for an entire gallon. But this is what he drinks right here. And another must is reptile calcium right there to keep him nice and healthy. So what I'll do is I will take whatever food I'm giving to him, dog food, mealworms, vegetables, fruits, whatever, and sprinkle a little bit of this on top of it, and he loves it, and he definitely needs calcium. So there you go there. And I think that's about it. So I do want to show you what the reptile store said was what the kind of substrate that I was supposed to put down. This is what they sold me, and this is for a desert reptile. So I have this whole big bag that I don't even know what I'm going to do with. I might throw some in there maybe on the right-hand side to see if he'll walk around in it, but they basically sold me the wrong stuff. I don't have a bag of what I purchased in there, but if you want to come over here real quick, I'll show you what it looks like. So the lighter stuff is called what's it called?
Sphagnum moss.
Sphagnum moss, and the wood chippy stuff is called corn husk. Is it corn husk? Cocoa husk. Sorry, cocoa husk. So that's supposedly what they like. That's what the vet said. And after all the research I did on YouTube, it seems that those are the two things that Indonesian skinks like. They hold moisture, and as you can see, Blueberry's kind of burrowing right there, having a good time. When we found him at the pet store, he was just sitting on the desert stuff, and he basically had no place to hide, and it was really dry in there, and I kind of felt bad for him. So see how he's licking there? That's a sign that he's happy. See his blue tongue? Hey, you little Blueberry. And I think that's about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the rest of his enclosure. I'm going to put some more. Oh, one more thing. Sorry. So all these leaves over here, I thought I wanted to kind of make the enclosure look cool, and I wanted it to look just like Indonesia. So I went to the pet store, and all these fake leaves were like $5 or $10. They were extremely cheap, and I bought them in the pet department. Do not go to Michael's Crafts or Walmart and buy the ones that are made out of felt, because if they eat that, it could be bad for them. You want to make sure that they're solid plastic, because when it gets damp in there from the humidity, the skink might lick them, which they actually like doing, and you don't want them to get sick. So they have to be plastic. Just get them from the pet store. They're super cheap. It looks like a jungle. He'll be happy. Earlier today, he was kind of going in there and hiding underneath the leaves and looking super cute. So, and that is it. So I'm going to come out with another video after this is all set up, and that's basically it. So thanks for watching. Hold on one second.
Bye.
Bye.